This is a copy of a paragraph out of this document. I'm about to get into more of the actually what they're doing and how they're doing it. But I'm looking at it from the forest perspective, not at the tree level that you're so used to and what you want to hear. I'm talking macro, not micro. But what this says is these competency indicators are introduced. They're introduced by grade cluster level, and they're solid dots that show where they are introduced. Now you're going to see on the next slide, I'm going to have a list of these things we call competency indicators. And it's going to show you when the competency indicator is introduced, and then it's going to show you that those competency indicators are expanded or reinforced till they get to the 12th grade. And what they say is when they get to the 12th grade, all students master all competency indicators by the end of grade 12. That's in the Alabama document. 3 words: introduce, reinforce, and master. If you would Google your own definition of indoctrination, I've had this discussion with some lawyers back in December. You cannot dispute. Matter of fact, I've been told when I'm making presentations or I go to committee, I can use the word indoctrination. I'm not exaggerating what is happening to your child in public school. That's an indoctrination process. What you've got to get your mind around is I'm not slamming it in your face today and making you memorize it and checking you on it next week. Everything I read, they don't want any red flags, because we Republicans are good at charging red flags. CRT, horns down, here I go, charge. SEL, horns down, charge. That's what we do, because I can get my hand on CRT, I can get my hands on SEL. But they have your hands on your children. And they don't want you to know this process and what they're doing. Here are some of the competency indicators and what they look. There's 123 competency indicators. Now, some of them you look at face value and you may say we can't go there. Some of them you look at face value and you say, well, at face value they look okay. The problem is on all 123, except for some obvious ones, a handful of obvious ones, you really don't know what they're doing with some of those, diversity or equity, or where they're going with those. Because you don't know that they're running a side program in the schools indirectly into the classroom through the counseling office. So it's unbelievable. You're just not, we just don't think of a school system like that. All right, let's use the one that, let's use this one. This is on your handout. So this is saying that in kindergarten through 2, they're going to introduce this recognize and respect differences. Key in on the word respect. Recognize and respect differences in various family configurations. So every student that's in kindergarten, and I don't know how COVID has affected this, I'll be honest, but every kid that's been in kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, has been at least introduced to the concept that they should respect 2 men, 2 women, and a man and a woman as a family configuration. The key word I'm trying to get you to focus on is respect. Now, if you're religious, I think we may have to legally tolerate it, but I don't think, depending on your background, religious backgrounds, you would want your kids growing up to respect that. Not if you're going to church on Sundays. They have other diversity issues, individual differences. That's introduced in grade K through 2. That starts to become a concern with exactly what those differences are. And respect alternative points of view I thought was interesting. So it's okay, you think it's okay to kill babies, and you think it's okay not to kill babies, but I got to respect your point of view, because I'm supposed to respect alternative points of view, and they started trying to teach me to do that in grade 3. Here's one I thought you'd find kind of amusing. Understand the importance of equity and access in career choice. Understand the importance of equity and access in career choice, and that's introduced in grade 3. I couldn't even spell equity in grade 3. Holy smokes. So I would have to say they're probably starting to teach the kid, no matter what you bring to the table when you're trying to qualify for a job, equity is more important than what you bring to the table in deciding who gets that job. We've kind of went away from the common sense issue where everybody gets an equal chance and a fair chance to succeed, and we've kind of started to have it backfire to where, well, this is my trump card. If I'm a gender or different race, that's my trump card over pretty much a white male. This one right here, use assessment results in education planning. That's introduced in grade 6. Let me tell you another program, and I'm not going to get into it, but every student in grade 8 sits down with your counselor. The counselor guides them to complete a 4-year education career program. Every student that's in high school right now is on a 4-year education/career program. It's a data-driven program. They start teaching the students, introducing the students to the concept that they should use assessment education planning in grade 6. It certainly appears they're getting them prepped to be going along with whatever the counselor says their career pathway should be as they develop that 4-year education planning document. Okay. Let's look at basically how they're doing. Now here are these words. I told you I wanted you to kind of stay at the at the forest issue and not get bogged down in the trees. I would love for some people, if they had some personal experiences, to give us the tree viewpoint. I'm giving you the forest issue that's affecting every school, about 750,000 students with about 51 or 52,000 teachers, ratio 1 to 14 in Alabama. I would have loved to have had a ratio of 1 to 14 instead of 1 to 28 or 1 to 30 when I was teaching. Okay. So the curriculum, the guidance is curriculum. Oh, curriculum? Counselors have curriculum? No. You know exactly what curriculum the kids are being taught on their progress report. Guidance curriculum includes structured experiences presented systematically through the classroom and group activities starting in kindergarten through 12th grade. They love to call their introductions, reinforcement issues, they love to call all this activities. You'll see activities a lot. Counselors can come into classroom. Counselors assist teachers in the delivery of classroom units that lead to acquisitions of competencies. Now what are competencies again? Values, beliefs, concepts, attitudes. Did you know the counselors were going in the classroom? I'll give you a little story. I was talking to a group of ladies in Marshall County in December. And when we finished the presentation, which by the way didn't work very well, when we finished it, I had a lady say, well, can counselors come in the classroom? I said, yes, ma'am, they can. According to this document, counselors can come in. By the way, these are all quotes. These aren't my guesstimate at what they're saying. These are all documented quotes. And I had a lady sit there and she says, well, when I was teaching 2nd grade, I used to have to take my class to an empty classroom and leave them with a counselor for 30 minutes, and I wasn't allowed to stay. Now, I had never thought of that. One, I don't think there's any ironclad template of how they go about introducing and reinforcing these values, beliefs, and concepts. I think some schools, if they have this kind of a resource, they might use it this way. Some, they'll use it this way. But their goal in the end is all students will master every single one of these competency indicators by the end of grade 12.
Hi,
Yes,
I have a treat.
yes.
My granddaughter, who is now 14, goes to Hoover. She's in the Hoover school system. In the 2nd grade, they started doing this. And she came home she told me, she said, "No, Mike, the counselor came in today and started talking about this. What is this stuff?" And she had that book.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny's.
We're not going down in the weed issue here, but I'm with you, Ann. Go ahead.
And I said, "They did what?" She said, "Yeah, they took us in a room, the counselor, and they talked about this book, Johnny's Two Dads." I said, "Got it." The next day, I was in that school. My granddaughter was excused to go to the playground every single time after that. She is now a freshman. She still doesn't read.
Okay, I'm going to show you in a minute where they're still reaching the kids. They don't necessarily have to come in the classroom. Just hang with me for a moment. And if you would, just let me finish the presentation and ask me questions afterwards. Okay, so counselors can come into the classroom and help the teachers teach the kids the competencies. Now let me say this, I'm not really sure if any of the teachers really know what's going on. Remember the teacher said, I used to have to take my class down to an empty classroom, leave with a counselor, and I wasn't allowed to stay. So they know they're doing something, they may not know what they're doing. Okay, here's that counselors implement a planned sequential blah, 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 and they're teaching competencies. It's designed to teach competencies. But again, at the macro level, the thing that's going to make sure we reach every school is a planned, structured, systematic program that is being included and executed at all the public schools in the state of Alabama. Again, some of it you may see, some of it you may not, but it's happening in every public school, affecting every student. Now here's something you may ask yourself why they're doing this. Counselors are participating in the review and revision of academic curriculum materials. So that handout that I showed you a while ago, that one-page handout, I showed my daughter this last year when I discovered that the program was still alive and well in Alabama. We had not been successful in removing this program. So I see what it is, and we got to remove the program, and I asked my daughter, I showed her that handout I'd written, I said, "Do you know anything about it?" She said, "No, Dad, I don't know anything about it," but she says, "You know, it makes sense now why they put the counselors on our ARI committee." Says, what have they got to do with academics? ARI stands for Alabama Reading Initiative. So anyway, that was her take on it. They were curious why the counselors were being put on the academic committees.